just discovered dropshipping. They have maybe seen a video, they've seen someone talking about it, it sparked their interest. Why should they use SaleFreaks? Why should they get involved?
Okay, so I've got to admit, from an owner's point of view, obviously I own SaleFreaks now. Of course, I'm going to say all these good things, but I'm going to rewind back as a SaleFreaks user. So I just always felt really comfortable with the platform. A couple of other softwares that I used prior to SaleFreaks didn't have the ability to automate a lot of the stuff that I now use for my business that SaleFreaks has obviously been able to offer me, and a couple of the other features as well. So whilst it might seem a bit daunting to a brand new customer, I feel like if you start with SaleFreaks and you learn SaleFreaks from A to Z, you don't need to really look beyond SaleFreaks for your sort of scalability needs. So, for example, a lot of other softwares out there will only allow you to add one eBay account to the non-API, or you have to have various different Chrome extensions for each store, or run it off multiple laptops, or have your laptop or computer running for 24/7. So the ability to do it from the very start and being able to scale your business from side hustle right the way to, if you want to run 200 eBay stores and 1,000 Amazon accounts, for example, you can do it all in the one place. You've no need to move up as you scale along. So that was one of the biggest things for me. And then just the ability to do everything else within your dropshipping business on an automated basis. So list products to your store, integrate with Zik Analytics, which I'm a big fan of for product research. The repricer as well. So the smart repricer reprices you against the competition. So again, referring to a lot of other softwares, you basically can have a set margin. So if you want to sell your break even and your profit margins, so where you will get 10% net, for example, SaleFreaks has a smart repricing range. So you can set it from, let's say you want to go from 10 to 20%, and then the repricer will scan the other competitors within the market and put you to a competitive price. So if you say, for example, if my basic setting on another software was 20% on a certain item, I could be 5-10% out against all the competition, which means it'll hinder me against ranking well on eBay now into consideration, but obviously it can be a massive help. So as your competitors reprice your products, SaleFreaks repricer will price against those. So again, just helps you to be more competitive in the market without actually having to do anything. Whereas another dropshipper, for example, might have to check all their listings or check their competitors. Why is this not selling? Where I can rely on basically just closing the book and letting it do its own thing. So I mentioned as well about the ability to not have to have your computer on 24/7 or not deal with Chrome extensions or using other servers and things like this with SaleFreaks non-API, which I would say is for anyone that's maybe watching this and doesn't understand what I'm saying about non-API, but it's basically connecting to eBay without eBay knowing basically that you're connecting to a dropshipping software. So everything that we do looks like a manual process. It looks like we're listing the products manually. It looks like we're repricing the products manually. And we have a unique solution for this that no other software in the market does. So from a compliance point of view and from a flying under the radar point of view, for me, SaleFreaks does this best. And like I say, you don't have to have your computer running 24/7 like some other competitors. You can, log into SaleFreaks, connect everything up, and our servers and everything else does the rest for you. So that's probably two of the main things. And then the ability to have multiple Amazon accounts on your account, but be able to run your suppliers using the multiple different methods. So we have the auto order, we have Amazon account protection, which means that anything that's running through auto order, we can limit the amount of orders per day, per hour through your Amazon account. We can limit the amount of pending orders sat in your Amazon account. So a big thing right now is, Amazon can close your account or can prevent you from purchasing physical products. They can restrict your account to digital only products if they feel you're drop shipping. So the real game here is multiple Amazon accounts, but also protecting those Amazon accounts. So stemming the flow of orders going to those accounts. And then if Amazon close an account, we know that it's not got like 10 orders pending that we can may potentially be cancelled by Amazon. We're cutting that out. We can say, okay, we only want max one pending order, which means if the account gets closed, we
Right.
know there's not going to be a bunch of orders getting cancelled. So it's massive, massive benefit in this climate. Also, the ability to auto order products on Auto Order Pro, which is like a managed account system, which means if you're drop shipping, you don't have to have a supplier account. You basically top up your balance with SaleFreaks. SaleFreaks will look after the order for you. I believe at this point in time, we're the only provider in the UK for the UK market that has this managed account system where you don't need your Amazon account. So number one, you don't need to deal with the worry of Amazon closing your account. You don't need to deal with the worry of potentially getting return labels for your products. All our staff do that for you. Cancelled orders, you get a refund on those. So it takes a bit of the pain away. I also believe in having multiple different methods. So if you're using Auto Order Pro, you can also use your own auto order system, and you can also do a manual order system as well on our system. So you can have like the best of, three worlds there potentially,
Mm.
and mix and match different methods. So I always like to diversify and not just rely on one thing or the other. So for me and my business, um, it really makes sense to have those three features. And then we also have what's called, actually, probably a bit of a spoiler alert, but we are testing like what's called like a burst mode, which is going to be the ability to um, process like an increased amount of orders through an Amazon account in a specified period of time. So we have our account protection on one side of things, which will limit it, and we can also have the ability to, if you want to blast a certain amount of orders through
Mhm.
an Amazon account per day. Let's say you have a backlog or you have a busy day and you
Right.
actually want to get rid of that bottleneck, then we have the ability, or we're gonna have the ability to force those orders through a little bit quicker. So again, that's going to be a bit of a game changer, especially if the system has issues.
Mhm.
Every system has issues from time to time as well. It could be that you have busier sales periods, or it could be a little bit of downtime or something like this. So that's going to have the ability to clear up those backlogs as well.
Talking about those things like managed accounts, and a lot of the automation features compared to other dropshipping softwares, the automation in SaleFreaks, how does that affect your profit to time commitment ratio, and how does that kind of add up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, every software in the market is designed to save you time from manually dropshipping, whether it be just a monitor that monitors the price and the stock, or whether it's something more A to Z like SaleFreaks that can potentially automate 70, 80, 90% of your business. So let's say, for example, when I first started dropshipping, I was using another software, which was great. It was doing all the listing part for me. It was doing the reprice. It was doing the
Mhm.
monitoring. So when I started making sales, it was just really the processing of the orders that was taking time. So when I was doing one or two sales, three or four sales a day, that was, 10, 15 minutes of work that was, it was light work. So it
Mhm.
was it was it was amazing because I was getting a feel for the process. I was processing these orders, I was starting to make some profit. It was really, really cool. But then when it got to the stage, and at this time I was still in my 9 to 5 job. So bearing in mind, I think a lot of people when they start drop shipping, they have probably got a job at least part time or full time, or maybe they're in university or other commitments, or maybe this is, um, maybe in conjunction with another e-commerce business that they're running. Your time is limited, so I was getting home in the evening when I started to scale to maybe 20 or 30 or 40 orders in a day.
Mm.
You're starting to then have to process those orders. Um, and that can be time consuming, especially when you're coming home from work, you're getting some food, and then you're sitting down 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, because bearing in mind you still got customer service that comes with this.
Mm.
So software can't, respond to your customers on messages. I hope someday, maybe with
Yep.
AI and everything, that we will
Yeah.
get to that point where we can automate even more of that process. And even some of the sales freaks can send out like automated messages after a sales made. But you have to do some customer
Yep.
service. You're also going to have to do some admin work around your business. And then the main thing that puts sales into your business is the product research and the listing of products and the filtering through and all that stuff. So there's a lot to do, that needs to be done aside from processing your order. So in terms of profitability, which is your main question, this was where my stumbling block came, because I got to the point where it was like, I can't scale anymore because I physically don't really have the time
Mhm.
to do many more orders. So what actually happened was, it was around Christmas time, and I actually thought, you know what, I need to stop altogether. And I
Right.
stopped listing on my store. I basically stopped eBay. I removed all the listings. Dropshipping was great. It was kind of cool. It was working, but I was like, you know what? I want to take some downtime. I've got some things coming up, and I just physically won't have the time to process these orders. And then I came into contact with someone at SaleFreaks, or someone that was using SaleFreaks. And they were like, "Oh no, you don't need that. You don't do this. You connect your Amazon account, it does these orders." And I was like, "What?" From someone that didn't come from a techie background as well. I was like, "What do you mean? Like, the order comes from eBay, it comes into SaleFreaks, it then processes that all on your Amazon account with the customer's information, and then it gets sent out straight to the customer." I was like, "This is amazing. Like, I've like 100% got to try this." So all of a sudden, I was going from doing all these orders to basically doing none of them, or let's say I was doing 10-15% of them
Yep.
at most, because some of them fail because maybe a buyer's put in, a random character in their
Mhm.
address, or a number where it should be a letter in the
Mhm.
postcode or something like that. So some of them will fail auto order, some of them will go out of stock, and you'll have to do something on eBay to cancel the order, maybe send a similar product or something like this. But I had all this time back in my hands. So I thought, okay, well, if I don't have to do all this, I can just focus on finding more products and growing my eBay store. So when that automation kicked in, my profit went from, like, I was maybe making 100-200 quid a month, which at the time was like my ideal goal. It was like,
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was get some extra pocket money to go out for dinner with the family, or
And for a lot
let's,
of people, that is the kind of destination with dropshipping.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That is a great
100%.
goal to have.
And this is like going back to 2018, very early
Mm.
2019. I feel like everything has got more expensive. So that, like, £100 now, I'd probably need to have £400 to like do the same thing. So I feel like in 2023, it's even more important to like build that side income. So from my point of view anyway, I went from like 100-200 pounds a month profit, which was amazing for me,
Mhm.
to suddenly, sort of after 3 to 4 months using SaleFreaks, I was doing 500-600 pounds profit, for example, after all expenses.
Yeah.
I did have to register for a limited company. I got to the point where I'd breached the UK VAT threshold. And at that point, I was like, okay, I need to scale more. But the thing about it is, once I scale past a certain amount, the workload didn't really change. So like, I was scaling, but still spending the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So the time that I was saving processing orders was spent on other things, and that, like, other things like time back with my family. Like, there was a
Yeah.
time where my wife was saying to me, like, "Michael, are you actually making any money here? And look how much time you're actually spending on it."
Mhm.
When I really dialed it back, even that 100-200 pounds, because of the amount of time I was spending actually doing orders, I was thinking, "Well, actually, my hourly rate isn't that good," but
Mhm.
I still kind of felt like this is free money, because I'm like, one, I'm enjoying
Yeah.
doing it. Two, it's not costing me anything to make this money. Okay, so I'm maybe fulfilling orders instead of watching Netflix, but the hourly rate wasn't that great. So it was only
Mm.
when I started to scale up and use SaleFreaks and automate all these other processes, just like I mentioned about integrating with Zik Analytics, that was
Yeah.
saving me 5, 10, 15 minutes here or there. Using the SaleFreaks locators to scan URLs on Amazon and have the items kind of almost ready to list the day after. It was more like a few clicks of a button, as opposed to sitting down for hours and hours and hours to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I very quickly went from like 100 to say 500. And then at this point in time as well, this is when I started learning about virtual assistants, and about, actually, there's people out there that are really much better at customer service than I am, and know eBay customer service, and know how to do all these processes. And they've also used SaleFreaks before for working for clients. I just
Yeah.
didn't realize this kind of world existed.
Yeah.
So then when I figured out that part, and I was able to hire some staff to do, like, to answer the messages, and even down to running the locator URLs, then suddenly I was able to scale even more, because the part that I was focused on in the business was the metrics of eBay, getting limit increases on eBay, gradually growing the store, and I'm managing the metrics, and managing I guess what I would call the kind of, I don't even know what I would call it, but like the inventory management. So if something's not working, take it out. Let's try something else. Moving or playing around with the margins, like everything that isn't
Mm.
black and white that you can get someone or something to do. I was able to spend more time on, so I could really dive deeper into right. Okay, well, what products are working, what products aren't working, what price ranges are working, what's not working. And then I was able to spend so much more time in that and grow the business. So it then became, sorry if I'm rambling
No,
on, because I've
keep
told this
going. You're
story
all good.
a million times, but probably not in this format or on our own channel. But it got to the stage where I was sitting in my day job. I was working out my profits for the month and things like that. And it then did get to the stage where I was making more money from drop shipping than in what I was in my full-time job. And that's when I really started to question, right, I really enjoy this as well. I
Yeah.
really didn't really enjoy my full-time job. So it gave me a lot of decisions, and it also gave me a lot of freedom to do things that I wasn't able to do when all you're kind of worried about is paying your bills, making sure, I had two very young children at the time.
Mm.
They're now 6 and 4. They were like 2 and only just born at the time. So
Yeah.
my like disposable income was like shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So it also provided me with some nice opportunities to, start saving into
Yeah.
stocks and shares, for example, or investing into other e-commerce business, or just being able to go on the holiday without having to put it on a credit card and then pay for it
Yeah.
afterwards
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things like that. So it's kind of just scaled up, but the time that I was spending on it didn't scale up with it,
Mm.
if that makes sense, which was really, really cool. You actually, the more I scaled, the less time I had to scale on. There's always issues. There's always, I love to tell people that this is like a complete passive income. It's not. I've always said from the start, it's like semi-passive income. And when things are running really, really well, you really don't have to spend much time on it. But because we rely on eBay and we rely on Amazon and we rely on staff, and we rely on systems and we rely on software, not everything is always working 100% of the time. So when things are bad, yes, you're going to have to spend more time. You're going to be in the trenches. And then in other times you could go weeks and months and not really have to do an awful lot,
Yeah.
which is really cool as well.
It's interesting you talk about the difference. I've only really heard people say because of the automation features, you in good times, you spend 30 minutes, an hour a day, maybe something like that. But this is the first time I've heard you can sort of scale up and the time increase doesn't scale up with you. That's the first time I've heard that. It's really interesting. Yeah, I think that's a real asset.
I mean, just when you say that, I mean, it took me a very long time into the game to realize that you can teach everyone, you can teach most people or a good member of staff anything to do about the business. There, obviously, the main thing for me with drop shipping is, even if it's a side hustle or if it's just, making that 50 quid or 100 quid, or you want to scale it to the moon and you want to do drop shipping as at least part of your full-time income as
Hmm.
an entrepreneur or a business owner, you have to treat it like a business. And for me, it took a long time, because I was selling on eBay for 15 to 20 years, and I never called that a business. That was always a hobby that I made a few extra quid from,
Yeah.
buying and selling things here and there. It took me a long time to realize that it was a business and needed to be treated like a business now. And that was even when it's registered as a limited company, because I still felt like it was almost like a hobby and I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
I was still doing a lot of things myself that I was actually thinking I can actually get someone to do that. So
Yeah.
even down to like spreadsheets and things that I wasn't good. I'm like, I'm not good at this. Why am I trying to do this? I need to go and find someone that's really good at Excel and pay them to give me that time back. Because not
Yeah.
only do I have like really good intentions of being like, yeah, I want to track everything and I want to do this. I'll do it for like a month or two, and then I'll be like, oh, then I'll leave it for a month, and then by that time you're like, oh no, I'm 2 months behind, let's just sack it all off. So like there's staff that can really help you to be organized and basic and make that a business. You can only,
Yeah.
I've said this to like, other people in the business, like you can only go so far by yourself. You can only spread yourself so thin to the point where it's like it's either not scalable or the whole house of cards gonna fall down. And what I see a lot of people doing is they'll scale it up and then they'll become very overwhelmed. And what'll happen is they'll blanket, they'll bury their head in the sand and just go, right, I'm just not going to look at anything for a week or 2 weeks. And by
Yeah.
then, like the damage is
It's
done
got
and you've
worse.
kind of ruined it. Whereas you could have just put in processes in place or used more automation on the software, and those things would get looked after. So a lot of people just don't treat it as a business. You've got paying customers that are buying products, you know, regardless if it's a side hustle or not, you're there to serve someone's need
Mm.
basically, and fulfill that order and provide that customer service, whether it's, you
Yeah.
know, 10 sales a month or 10,000 sales a month.
We've spoken a bit now about scaling up and when you're kind of in the meat of dropshipping, when you've been doing it for a while. If we want to zoom back, I'm going to talk about people who've just started. So, I mean, I've actually recently just started my store. I've been telling you recently. What are the three things? I'm going to ask you for three things which you would tell to people in the first week, the first second week, the first month of dropshipping. What are three really actionable things that they can start doing, which will help them with their time, with their profit, with scale, with everything?
So I thought you'd caught me out with actionable. Because the first thing I'll always say is you've definitely got to have patience.
Hmm.
Okay. It's not like, I feel like we've always been like this, or any platform that I've ever been on or spoke about it, that I'm not the kind of get rich quick scheme. I think I almost repel away from those
Yeah.
kind of people. And I think I stumbled into drop shipping because there was a YouTube video that I watched, and they said the same thing. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. So like patience is definitely number one. And where you can make that actionable is with you. It's just your pace of growth. Okay. So especially like if you're brand new to eBay, I had the advantage a little bit of knowing the platform inside out over
Hmm.
10, 15 years. But I there was a lot of it that I didn't know as well. But I knew what eBay like in terms of customer service, in terms of metrics, what to do, what not to do. So patience, learn the platform that you're selling on, first of all. First and foremost, you've got to really understand like what can get you in trouble on eBay, what to do, you know, restrictions, all these things are massive. And I think we're going to have some content coming out very soon with another eBay expert and I talk about this in depth with, which
Hmm.
is it will be really good for beginners, because I feel prevention is always better than the cure. Sometimes it's too late to be cured as well. So a lot of patience in terms of understanding the platform. We are playing in eBay's playground here, so we got to play by the rules. We've got to the environment between seller and customer. So you got to understand that. And then secondly, when it comes to listings, quality over quantity is always going to win. So really understand that every product that you list, especially in the early days, while you don't want to blow up your account by listing like 100, 200 listings a day. You want to go slow. So you want to list like one or two products a day. So you want to make sure those products have the best chance of
Yeah.
selling, you know. So that's certainly one of the most actionable things, like I said at the start, with being patient, because even if you're listing like 5, 10 products a day, that's still like 150 to 300 products over the space of a month. So people will say to me, one of the most asked questions I'll get is, how many products can I list a day? And my answer
Hmm.
nowadays would always be, how many good products can you physically find in the time that you've said you can spend on this business per day, plus optimize the title or optimize the description? Like, you know, 5 good listings will be better than just picking 50 random items from a supplier and
Yeah.
listing them on your store with no optimization. So that's the one thing. The second thing, I'm going to go back to basically treating it like a business. You know, you've if you want to make money from something, which I can't see any other reason why someone would start drop shipping on other than to make money. This is a business that you do potentially want to make money. So whether it's a side hustle or whether it's a business, you really do want to treat it as a business.
Mm.
You know, treat your customers with respect, and again, that will help with step one basically. So keep eBay happy, keep your metrics right, and then thirdly would be, and again, it kind of ties in with the first two, but also somewhere where I see people getting trapped, and that's not being scared to scale up. So if you really want to turn it into a good side hustle, just like what I said originally, you know, as you scale up, your time doesn't have to scale up with it.
Mm.
But what I see a lot of people doing is they can get caught treading water in the middle. Like, they're kind of scared to scale up because they're maybe, you know, paying SaleFreaks subscription, they're paying eBay store fees, they're paying an eBay subscription, and they're maybe not making a lot of money. They're maybe, at the time, I think when I say I was making 100 quid a month, for example, my business expenses might have been double that. I might have been paying out like 80 quid on an eBay store,
Yeah.
eBay fees, software fees. And that's sometimes how it is. Do you know what I mean? I think,
Mm.
people you have to think, okay, you've got to have business outgoings. There's going to be outgoings. There's going to be staff costs. Okay. You don't want to get into a position where everyone's getting paid and you're not getting paid.
Mm.
But I see too often where people are kind of afraid to take that leap because they're maybe not making that much money and they're scared their outgoings are going to increase and they're not going to make that money in profit or they're going to lose money.
Yeah.
That should never be the case. If you're doing everything that you need to do, scaling up should never be a bad thing. In fact, again, as you scale up, your costs don't scale up with you. There's different levels on the eBay accounts where you get like so many free listings, or Feature Store will give you so many free listings, but it'll also give you a very heavily discounted rate of listing after
Hmm.
the 1,500 free listings, for example, on a Feature Store, which still makes it way more profitable, even if you're paying a couple of cents per extra listing. On SaleFreaks, the higher the package you go up, obviously, the more you should be making, the more revenue, as long as you're keeping the quality of your products good, your customer service good, and your metrics good. I just see a lot of people just treading water in the middle and scared to take that leap. And also, you don't have to scale one store up. Again, another mistake that I see is people rely on one eBay store, two eBay stores. I feel like in this day and age, we not only need multiple supplier accounts, but we also need multiple eBay accounts. So
Hmm.
whether that be opening up multiple in your own name or getting family members or friends or buying them off other people online, scaling sideways is definitely something that I've learned to do and not rely on one store. Because if you're relying on the one store and you're also relying on the income that brings you in, if that store goes, if eBay decide to
Yeah.
permanently restrict that account or something happens to that store, then that income goes as well. If you have to start right from the bottom again and go all the way through it again with one store, knowing that you could also lose that, it's going to be harder to climb back from. Whereas if you have 4 or 5 eBay stores, I know
Hmm.
people that have 10, 20, 30, some upwards of that, some crazy numbers of stores. If they lose even 10% of those stores, they're still winning.
Yeah.
The other stores can start pulling the weight of the ones that are lost. They can increase the listings or whatever. And so definitely scaling up, not being scared to scale up. Day one, where you don't know anything and just start scaling massive when you
Hmm.
don't really know what you're doing because it can all fall down. You're not really treating it as a business. And then, like I say, the third one is don't once you get to that stage, and you're maybe drop shipping 3 to 6 months, and you've got the hang of it, and you're finding that the results are working. Then that's when you really want to scale up. When you've got the blueprint of what works, that's when you want to lean into it. You want to hire your staff. You want to outsource those tasks that you're spending time on.
Mm.
Invest in like a bigger package in SaleFreaks or a bigger package in Zik Analytics and really turn it up. Then what makes it really, really exciting and really life changing, I guess, because SaleFreaks in one way or another has massively changed my life
Yeah.
since working a 9 to 5 in the bank to basically being online business owner, drop shipper, and doing various other things. But if it wasn't for drop shipping, it wasn't for SaleFreaks, those other things wouldn't have came along as well. So once you're kind of in this space, it definitely opens up other opportunities or other doors that you may not have known existed as well.
Going back to not being afraid to scale up, I was speaking with Grant recently, Grant Lee, and he was saying the exact same thing. He had one store, it was going fine, it was going sideways, it was going up gradually, and then one day a restriction or whatever happened to him, the whole castle falls down. You got to restart. So that's when he decided to pull the trigger on a second store. He's about to do a third store, so you can see why it's so important to, as you say, scale sideways.
Yeah, for sure. And I've I've dealt with Grant like on a personal and business level now for I guess for a couple of years. And I think to a degree he's kind of like he probably played it a little he's gonna watch this and laugh, but probably played it a little too safe in the beginning. And but also from his side of things, he knew what time he had to spend on dropshipping, as in like he knew his free time, he knew his limits, and was really at the time quite content
Yeah.
with how that was running, which like I have no problems with that at all.
It can really match your time commitments, so you can spend your
Yeah, yeah,
full
yeah,
day on it and you
exactly.
can go crazy, or you can spend an hour a day. It's just dependent on your
Yeah, he was
schedule, really.
doing multiple different things. He had, his time was split between these things, and he was kind of happy just taking over. And also, what he does very well is observe what's going on around him. So, he was learning the whole time. So he might not have been like scaling up, and it might have taken him a bit longer than someone else, but his eBay store is probably a lot stronger for it. He's learned a lot from it.
Hmm.
He still made money along the way because of the way he did things, because going back to kind of what when you scale up, you have to be you also have to be conscious. You can't just like sleepwalk into like scale and massive. You have to make sure like, are my sales reflective of where I want to be? And it does boil down to this whole, you can't just keep throwing more listings at something.
Yeah.
If you're not doing something that's fundamentally right somewhere in the beginning, then as you scale up, you're going to have a bigger problem. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
You need to like have that blueprint. You need to know, okay, this works well. So if I just do more of this, then this will work even better. And that's kind of going back to what I felt that I was doing. I was kind of at the stage where I was going, okay, if I can make £100 a month,
Mm.
I can surely make two, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all I have to do is a little bit more of what I'm already doing. I'm putting a little bit more work to find those products, maybe optimize some titles and things like that. And at the same time, you're learning the business, you're learning what's working, what's not working. Um, and then you can just lean into whatever's working. If you're just kind of going blind and just like it just doesn't work, you need to like if you're like just listing all these products, you're trying to get like 30-40% margins, but the rest of the UK market out there drop shipping the same kind of niche, the same stuff as you from
Mm.
same suppliers. You're not going to make any sales no matter what
Yeah.
you're listing. So you have to really just pay attention of what's going on around you, what's working well for others, keeping your eye on the ball in terms of the community and things that are changing, and then just lean into that. Just keep moving forward and not kind of getting into that middle tread and water zone.
Hmm.